They smile at you, they say your name, they laugh at your jokes, and behind your back, they've already decided they don't like you. No fight, no explanation, just a slow, quiet fade, fewer texts, shorter replies, invitations that stop arriving. Here's what's worse. You're probably doing something right now that makes people feel that way, and you have no idea. Most people think being disliked means someone is angry at you, that there was a fight, a clear moment where everything broke. But that's not how it works. Real dislike doesn't announce itself. It builds silently. Small moments, invisible interactions, things you said or did without ever realizing the impact. Carl Jung had a name for this: the shadow, the unconscious part of ourselves we don't want to see. Here's what he discovered. What we refuse to face in ourselves doesn't disappear. It gets aimed at other people, quietly, automatically. That's why someone can go cold on you without a word, or even knowing why. By the time you notice, the decision is already made. That's what this video is about. Not the obvious stuff, not surface-level advice, but the real psychological reasons people quietly form negative opinions about you. And never say a word. Some of what I'm about to share will make you look at yourself and your closest relationships very differently. Think about the last time you felt it. That subtle shift. Someone who used to be warm suddenly feels distant. A friend who always texted back quickly now takes hours. A colleague who used to make eye contact now glances away just a little too fast. You told yourself you were imagining it. Maybe they're busy. Maybe it's nothing. But somewhere in the back of your mind, you knew. Something changed, and no one was going to tell you what. That quiet, unsettling confusion is one of the most psychologically uncomfortable feelings a human can have. We are wired for social belonging. When that belonging feels threatened, even subtly, it activates the same parts of your brain as physical pain. Being disliked hurts, even when no one says it. Most people never understand why it keeps happening. Today, that changes. Before I get to the behaviors, I want to say something important. Everything here is grounded in real psychology. This is not about blame. The people who most need to hear this are almost never the ones you'd expect. The irony? The behaviors that make people quietly dislike you are almost never done with bad intentions. They're unconscious, automatic, which means the problem isn't your character. It's your patterns, and patterns can be changed. I'm going to walk you through 6 specific psychological reasons people secretly form negative opinions. By the end, you'll understand something about how people perceive you that most never figure out. Let's go. Reason 1. You make people feel invisible without realizing it. There's a concept called felt acknowledgement, the deep human need to feel genuinely seen and heard. When that need is met, people feel drawn to you. When it isn't, they feel a vague discomfort in your presence. Over time, that discomfort becomes distance. Most people think listening means staying quiet while someone else talks, but real acknowledgement is more specific. It's the pause before you respond. The follow-up question that proves you actually processed what they said, not just waited for your turn. Reflecting back what they shared before redirecting to yourself. When those things are missing, people don't think this person ignored me. They just feel less valued around you, and they start pulling back. Think about your last few meaningful conversations. When someone shared something personal, did you sit with it? Or did you move quickly to your own story? Most people, if honest, already know the answer. This isn't a character flaw. It's a habit. One of the fastest ways people quietly lose interest in someone, without being able to explain why. Try this tomorrow. In one conversation, ask a follow-up question before you share anything about yourself. Just once. See what shifts. Reason 2. Your energy doesn't match your words. Jung talked about the persona, the mask we wear for the social world. When your persona is too far from who you actually are, people feel it. They don't think it. They feel it. That mismatch between the smile you're showing and the weight you're carrying registers as something off. Even when they can't name it, they start to distance themselves. Humans are incredibly sensitive to incongruence. We process tone, body language, and micro-expressions subconsciously, faster than conscious thought. Albert Mehrabian found that tone and body language carry over 90% of emotional meaning. Words are just the surface. When what you say and what you feel don't line up, the subconscious reading wins. What does this look like? You say, "I'm fine," but your jaw is tight. You say, "I'm so happy for you," but the smile comes a half second late. You say, "No worries," but your voice carries weight. People don't consciously notice these mismatches, but they feel them, and that feeling creates a quiet, low-level distrust. Not because they think you're lying, but because something feels off, and they can't name it. Over time, that unease accumulates. It becomes why someone can't fully relax around you, even if they like you, even if they'd never explain the distance. The fix isn't to perform positivity you don't feel. That makes it worse. It's to close the gap between what you carry and what you express. Authentic people are magnetic, not because they're always positive, but because what you see is what they are. Consistency builds trust. Inconsistency, even unintentional, slowly erodes it. Next time you feel off, say, "I'm not actually fine," instead of pretending. Notice what changes. Reason 3. You respond to good news the wrong way. This one is quietly devastating to relationships. Psychologist Shelley Gable found that how you react to someone's good news predicts relationship health more than how you react to their bad news. Let that land. Most people think support means showing up during hard times. It does matter. But the moments that truly build or break closeness are when someone shares something they're excited about. Here's what most people do. Someone shares exciting news. The other person says, "Oh, that's great. Good for you," and moves on. Or they redirect. Or worse, they respond with concern. "That's amazing. Just be careful, right?" None of these are malicious, but they register subconsciously as emotional dismissal, as not caring enough to celebrate. The response that builds deep connection is enthusiastic, specific, and curious. "Wait, how did this happen? How do you feel? Tell me everything." When you respond that way, people feel valued. When you don't, they feel subtly let down. That letdown adds up until they stop bringing you their good news at all. Watch your next 10 conversations. Specifically, watch how you respond when someone shares a win. Tonight, when someone shares a win, pause 2 seconds and say, "Tell me everything." Watch their face. You'll see it. Reason 4. You compete when people need you to connect. Jung understood this deeply. Most of what we think we see in others, we're actually seeing in ourselves. He called it projection. Projection is the quiet engine behind one of the most common social habits that pushes people away. It sounds like this. Someone says, "I've been so stressed. Work is overwhelming." You say, "I completely understand. My schedule has been insane. I haven't slept properly in weeks." On the surface, that sounds like bonding. But beneath the surface, it says, "My experience matters too." In a moment when someone needed space to be heard, they suddenly found themselves competing for it. This is one-upping. It doesn't have to be aggressive. Often it's gentle and well-meaning. The person doing it genuinely believes they're connecting. But the person on the receiving end feels slightly unheard, like they reached out a hand, and instead of being held, they were handed something back. Slowly, they stop reaching. The alternative is almost too simple. Stay in their story longer. Ask one more question. Let them feel fully received before you introduce anything of your own. That single adjustment changes how people experience you in ways that are hard to overstate. This week, catch yourself before saying, "Me too." Ask one more question instead. Try it for 7 days. Reason 5. You apologize in ways that make things worse. This one is subtle. Almost no one recognizes it in themselves. There are 2 kinds of apologies. Only one heals. The first is centered on the apologizer. "I'm really sorry. I've been under so much pressure lately. I didn't mean it." You know I'd never hurt you. The second is centered on the hurt person. I'm sorry. What I said wasn't fair. That must have felt dismissive, and that wasn't okay. The first kind, even when sincere, is still about the person who caused the harm. It explains and contextualizes. Context matters. But when it comes before genuine acknowledgement, it lands as an excuse. The person on the receiving end hears it not as an apology, but as a defense. People feel this difference even when they can't articulate it. When an apology doesn't land, the hurt doesn't heal. It goes underground. Underground hurt is quiet. It doesn't complain. It just becomes the foundation of the distance someone starts to keep. Next apology you make, remove every "I've been under pressure" and just say, "That wasn't okay, I'm sorry." Nothing else. See how it lands. Reason 6. You give advice when people are asking for presents. This is the mistake most often made by genuinely caring people. Someone comes to you with something hard. Because you care, you go into solution mode. You analyze. You offer perspective. You give the clearest path forward. And they walk away feeling worse than when they arrived. Here's the psychology. When someone shares an emotional problem, what they are almost universally seeking first is not a solution. It's confirmation that what they feel makes sense, that they're not overreacting, that someone genuinely understands. When you skip that step, even with the best intentions, people feel processed, not heard, managed, not met, like they came to a person and found a consultant. Gradually, they stop coming to you with what matters most, not because they don't trust your judgment, but because being vulnerable around you starts to cost more than it gives. The most powerful thing you can say to someone in pain, before any advice, before any solution, is simply, "That makes complete sense. Of course you feel that way." 7 words. That's it. The entire dynamic shifts. Next time someone vents, say only that. Offer 0 solutions. Watch what happens. Now, here's what almost everyone misses. Every pattern I've described, the invisible moments, the energy mismatches, the small missteps, none are permanent. But one thing determines whether someone can shift these patterns or carry them forever. So sit with this question. Don't answer fast. When was the last time you genuinely changed a social pattern? Not because someone called you out, but because you saw it in yourself and chose to shift. That question is uncomfortable on purpose. The real reason people stay trapped is a belief, a quiet, almost never examined belief that who they are is fixed, that their social habits are just their personality, that their responses are just how they are. That belief becomes a wall. Genuine change requires honesty, not self-criticism, not shame, just clear, steady honesty that says, I may have patterns that don't serve me. That doesn't make me a bad person. It makes me a growing one. The people who are genuinely liked, deeply, consistently, loyally, are not flawless. They practice understanding themselves, observing their own behavior, slowly closing the gap between who they intend to be and how they actually show up. That's not a destination, it's a direction. The fact that you're still here, that you let some of this apply to yourself without immediately defending, tells me something. You're willing to look. That willingness is rarer than you think and far more powerful than you know. Here's what I want you to take. You are not the moments people misread. You are not the energy mismatches. You are not the times you move too quickly past someone's pain. Those are patterns, not identity. Identity is what you choose to move toward. The most liked people in any room didn't get there by being perfect. They got there by being present, honest, willing to see themselves clearly, and still showing up with warmth. That's available to you, not after years of work. It starts in your very next conversation. One shift, one moment of full presence, 1 second of asking, how does this person actually feel right now? Before you say anything, that's where it begins. Here's what I want you to do. In the comments, type the number of the pattern that hit closest to home. Just one number. Then one sentence about a moment you remember feeling that pattern from the other side, when someone did it to you. I'll read everyone and pin the most honest answer. Because the real learning isn't just about you. It's about all of us seeing ourselves more clearly. I'll leave you with one last thing from Jung. He said, the best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our own shadow onto others. That's what this video is about. Not beating yourself up. Paying attention to the unconscious patterns, yours and theirs. And slowly, honestly, bringing them into the light. That's the work. That's the edge. Take care of yourself and pay attention to how you make people feel. That's everything.